I, 28F, found out my boyfriend, 30M, is planning a surprise proposal for me, and I think it's cancelled after he met with my father. How do I address this without revealing I already knew? For the past couple of months, my boyfriend, James, has been acting a little off. Not in a bad way, but he's been sneakier than usual, keeping his phone closer, whispering during calls, and sneaking out for errands. At first, I thought maybe he was planning something small like a trip or a date night, but as the weeks passed, the signs became more obvious. I'll admit it, I'm nosy. I didn't mean to snoop, but one day while he was in the shower, a message popped up on his phone from my best friend, Clara. It mentioned something about the big day and how she'd help with decorations. I didn't read further, but it was enough for me to piece together that he was planning a proposal. A couple of weeks later, my sister accidentally spilled the beans when she casually mentioned that I might want to get my nails done soon. She quickly backtracked, but it was too late. On top of that, my mom admitted James had taken her to lunch to discuss something important, which confirmed my suspicions. I should have stopped there. I knew it was supposed to happen in February, but I didn't know when or where. Instead of letting myself enjoy the anticipation, I let my curiosity get the better of me. Fast forward to last week, Clara texted me saying she saw James at a coffee shop, and while she thought it was funny that he didn't recognize her, she casually mentioned he was with my dad. That's when the panic set in. James and my dad had never met. While my boyfriend has met and bonded with my mom and siblings, my dad lives out of state, so they've never crossed paths. I've always mentioned that I'd like my dad's blessing before getting engaged, which is important in my family and personal values. I didn't tell James the first knew about the meeting, but when I called him later that day to chat, he sounded off. When I asked if he was okay, he gave a vague answer about work being overwhelming and how he needed to get into a better position professionally. Then he said something that broke my heart. If I were a dad, I'd want my daughter to be with someone stable, someone worthy. I didn't know how to respond. Does this mean the meeting didn't go well? Did my dad not give his blessing? I started overthinking everything. Was James second-guessing himself because of what my dad said? For the record, James is the kindest, most hardworking person I've ever known. He comes from a humble background, but he's always shown determination and resilience. He's been nothing but supportive and loving throughout our 5-year relationship. I've never doubted his love for me or his potential as a partner. I don't come from the same background. My family is well off, and my dad, in particular, has always emphasized financial stability and career success. While he's not the type to outright say no to something, he has a way of making his concerns known indirectly. I worry that his words may have discouraged James. Over the next few days, James seemed distant. He wasn't outright avoiding me, but there was a noticeable shift in his behavior. Our conversations felt forced, and he seemed preoccupied. I tried to give him space, hoping he'd open up when he was ready, but the silence was eating me alive. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to address the elephant in the room without revealing what I knew. One evening, as we were having dinner, I casually brought up my dad and asked if they'd ever met. James hesitated before admitting they had. He explained that he wanted to do things the right way and thought meeting my dad was the respectful thing to do. He said the conversation went well, but admitted he left feeling a little uncertain. Your dad didn't say no, but he didn't exactly say yes either, James confessed. He talked a lot about responsibility, financial stability, and being prepared for the future. It made me realize there's a lot I need to work on. My heart broke hearing this. I could see how much James valued my dad's opinion and how hard he was on himself. I reassured him that I loved him for who he was, not for what he had or hadn't achieved. I told him that my dad's perspective didn't change how I felt about him and that we could face any challenges together. James seemed to relax a little after our talk, but I could tell he was still grappling with self-doubt. Over the next few weeks, I made a conscious effort to show him how much I appreciated and believed in him. I also decided to have a conversation with my dad to clear the air. When I spoke to my dad, he admitted he liked James and thought he was a good man. However, he also expressed concerns about whether James was ready for the responsibilities of marriage. I explained that while I understood his perspective, I believed in James's potential and our ability to grow together. My dad seemed to take my words to heart and promised to be more supportive moving forward. February came and went without a proposal, but I wasn't upset. In fact, I felt more secure in my relationship than ever before. James and I had grown closer through this experience, and I knew he'd propose when the time felt right for both of us. One weekend in March, James surprised me with a trip to the mountains. He said he wanted to take a break from the hustle and bustle of daily life and spend some quality time together. Little did I know, he had something special planned. As we hiked to a scenic overlook, James pulled me close and began talking about our journey together, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. He told me how much he loved me and how he couldn't imagine his life without me. Then, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. I said yes, of course. The moment was intimate and heartfelt, and it was everything I could have hoped for. Later, James told me he'd wanted to propose earlier but decided to wait until he felt more confident in himself and our future. He said my support and encouragement had made all the difference. Looking back, I'm grateful for the way things unfolded. It wasn't the smooth, picture-perfect proposal I'd imagined, but it was real and meaningful. It reminded me that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about facing life's challenges together and coming out stronger on the other side. Now, as we plan our wedding, I can't help but feel excited for the future. James and I have learned so much about each other and ourselves, and I know we're ready to take this next step. And for anyone wondering, my dad has been incredibly supportive since our engagement. He's even offered to help with the wedding planning, which is a big deal coming from him. To anyone out there overthinking their relationship or worried about what others might think, my advice is this: trust your partner and trust yourself. Communication is key, and sometimes the best way to move forward is to face your fears head-on. Love isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Update: 7 months later. I just wanted to come back and say thank you to everyone who commented and offered advice on my original post. You all helped me realize how important it was to communicate openly with James and to trust the strength of our relationship. That conversation brought us closer than ever, and I'm happy to share some wonderful news. James and I are expecting our first baby. This journey has been a whirlwind of emotions, but through it all, James has been my rock. From attending every doctor's appointment to working overtime to make sure we're ready for this new chapter, he's shown me time and again how dedicated he is to building our life together. I've also had a heartfelt conversation with my dad since my last post. We cleared the air, and he's been nothing but supportive. Knowing that our family is in a good place now means the world to both of us. This will be my last update here. I'm stepping away to focus on our growing family and to enjoy these precious moments. To everyone who took the time to read and comment, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You made a difference, and I'll always be grateful.